time for Media Watch, and Charlie James has joined me on set. Welcome, Charlie.
Hello there.
Thousands of school children across Australia walked out this Friday. What were they protesting?
That's right. So kids in more than 20 cities across the country left school today to protest climate change, or what they say little is being done about climate change in Australia. So here's a clip of some kids in Sydney, quite a crowd here. They're angry about the level of emissions being produced in the country, which they say kids are going to have to deal with when they grow up. And in fact, just on Friday, the government released new figures showing that carbon emissions in the country are at a 7-year high. So a lot of it's a precedent story. The protests in Australia were actually inspired by a little girl in Sweden. Her name is Greta Thunberg, and she has been leaving school every Friday since August to protest climate change outside of the parliament in Sweden. So the kids in Australia took that a step further, walking out in mass. Here is a group in front of the Australian parliament. They're out there demanding that Prime Minister Scott Morrison come out and meet with them. The kids are angry at Morrison and also the Resources Minister, Matt Canavan, who both warned students against protesting. In fact, Canavan told them, the best thing you'll learn about going to a protest is how to join the dole queue. So the kids are also angry about that, but some politicians did come out and meet them. Here's one MP. Her name is Rebecca Sharkey. She's speaking to concerned children inside Parliament House. But there were large groups all over the country. Here's some video of kids in Brisbane who are marching, and a lot of colorful signs, a lot of humor as well. I wanted to show you a couple of signs that kids had. Here's one in Melbourne. That's pretty, it's pretty clever reading. I've seen smarter cabinets at IKEA, them there in their school uniforms, right?
Yes.
And finally, here's one in Sydney that really
act like adults, we will.
Yeah, that really kind of wraps up the message there, where they're saying,
right.
you know, you're kicking the can down the road now, allowing new coal projects to start up in the country, but we're the ones that are going to have to deal with this fallout.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll see where that protest goes. Meanwhile, the French island of Corsica, always making up a lot of noise here in France. It wants its own flag emoji now. And apparently, it's really expensive to make a flag emoji of Corsica. What?
I'm not actually sure how much a emoji should cost to produce, but on Thursday, the Corsican Assembly approved spending 53,000 euros to create a Corsican flag emoji. Now, the Assembly justified this expenditure by saying that the flag is an internationally recognized symbol, but that the island is missing that important distinction of being able to use an emoji to represent it while you're texting.
I mean, of all the things that, I mean, I guess says something about the age that we're living in, right?
Well, I think part of it is also, as this change.org petition here points out, there are other islands, Martinique, Reunion, Guadeloupe, who already have their own emoji. And so if you're writing about Martinique on your iMessage, the flag will pop up. Whereas if you type Corsica, nothing happens. So this change.org petition was launched about 7 months ago. It has over 4,000 signatures now. And, you know, despite a lot of enthusiasm on the island from this, there are also people making fun of it a little bit and saying, why is it costing this much?
53,000, that's a lot of money.
One image going around Twitter shows the bandana on that flag covered in Louis Vuitton logos saying, oh, it's very exclusive, and that's why it's going to be. Others saying, oh, it better be blinged up at that price. But also one journalist, Antoine Albertini at the Corse Matin Journal, pointing out that Corsica is in fact the poorest region of France.
That's a lot of money for a poor region, right?
Yeah, so insinuating there that maybe there's a little bit
something else that they could
something better that they could be spending this money on than an emoji.
Yeah. All right. Well, finally, your final story is about basketball star Steph Curry, and he has received a letter from a little girl, and he chose to respond to this little girl. And why? Tell us why this story has gone viral.
Yeah. So 9-year-old Riley Morrison, she's a big Golden State Warriors fan. She wrote Steph Curry saying she was disappointed when she went to the Under Armour website, which sells his shoes, and saw that his Curry 5 shoes were only sold to boys there. So she sent him this letter, which her dad posted on Instagram, saying that she hopes that Curry can work with the company to change this because girls want to rock Curry 5s too. Well, the letter caught the attention of Curry, who posted his own response on Twitter saying, "Unfortunately, we've labored the smaller sizes as boys on the website. We are correcting that right now." And in fact, if you go to the Under Armour website now, you can see that in the girls section,
there they are.
There are
Curry 5.
there are already the shoes. So they are the same shoes,
fast.
but they had just only been marketing them to boys at the time.
Right.
Which Riley,
who would think that there would be so little difference between girls and boys' shoes?
yeah, well, and
Sorry, that was
little feet. So it's
feet
another
are all
example of Steph Curry, who has spoken out for women's rights and been an advocate for girls before, kind of putting his money where his mouth is. And another example of a kid making a difference.
That's great. And social media helping along the way. Thank you so much. Media Watch there with Charlie James. That's all.